Our ancestors the world over used plant-based medicines to think better, work harder, and increase strength to maximize their potential in life. Their successes and mistakes provide lessons that can help us live better lives. We begin in the Han Dynasty, around 230 BC to 196 BC. A young man named Han Xin was an orphan who grew up in abject poverty. He managed to make a small living in sales. He would get river fish and sell them, making a commission in the process. One day at the market, some gangsters demanded protection money that he couldn't pay. They beat him savagely and left him for dead. The neighbor woman took him in and gave him a soup made of banjalian. It eased his pain, lowered his inflammation, and allowed him to sleep through the night. He soon recovered and got back to selling fish so that he could pay the protection money and continue his existence. As soon as he could, he got out of the ghetto and joined the army. His bitter childhood made him hard as nails, yet compassionate enough to win the hearts of his men. He became one of the most famous generals in Chinese history. He loved his soldiers dearly, so after every battle, he would visit his men and care for them by giving them the plant which helped him as a child. Another famous general who used herbs was Yue Fei. He lived in the Song Dynasty around the year 1000 and was one of the most famous generals in Chinese history. He learned very high-level martial arts from a young age. His training would have included herbal medicine. When his men were injured or sick, he would personally administer medicine to them. This was a great way to increase morale and serve to give his men a competitive edge. There are myriad stories of martial arts masters using secret methods of breathing combined with unique herbal compounds as a form of inner alchemy. Some of these experiments led to insanity, while others led to remarkable intelligence and fighting prowess. A modern master and incarnation of the martial art master herbalist trope was Wang Fei Hong. He was born on July 9, 1847, and was a renowned martial arts master and doctor in southern China. He lived during the height of the Opium Wars and saw incredible conflict. His selfless devotion to helping others made the subject of many books, operas, and films. In the early 90s, I was around 12 years old. My stepdad was from Taiwan, and I had a lot of inside exposure to Chinese-American society. We got our movies from a filthy Chinese restaurant that made most of its money from selling bootleg movies to the Chinese community. My family would watch blockbuster movies on bootleg VHS a week before they hit theaters. This is where I first watched films about Wang Fei Hong and decided that I wanted to become a kung fu master and Chinese medicine doctor. I pictured treating people secretly in the back of a restaurant similar to the video store. It was beyond my comprehension. They would one day be overseen by medical boards or practiced at the Mayo Clinic. I began training Chinese martial arts. By the time I was 15, I was learning to regulate my endocrine system and energy production using breathing exercises. Certain periods of training required me to use herbs in order to overcome seemingly impossible hurdles. We had formulas for increasing bone density, strengthening tendons, and decreasing recovery time. We had formulas that helped to put on muscle, increase blood oxygen, and relax into deep states of meditation. I was able to absorb information easily, without as much repetition. My bone density increased so that when I blocked a strike, my sparring partners wouldn't want to throw a second. During the iron body training, I would swing my body, engaging my legs and waist, and send my arm crashing against a street pole. I could feel my bones bend and flex, yet the next day my arm wouldn't be bruised. For posture training, I would hold stances until my legs gave out. I willed them to move after, but they gave out again on the stairs in front of the Kung Fu school. I barely caught the rail in time. I laughed, mostly from the endorphin rush. If I didn't have the herbs, I could look forward to a week of lactic acid and pain. When I took the herbs the next day, I could begin training again without being sore. I would take the herbs and do meditation in the evening to recover, and I could feel my body pulsing from my kidneys to the soles of my feet. Before sparring matches, I took a special formula with herbs that have been shown to protect the central nervous system, increase blood oxygen, and keep adrenaline levels in check so that you don't freeze up. It's a very different feeling before a fight. Instead of having cold, stiff legs, you can feel your pulse gently coming from your hands as they warm up inside the gloves. Your feet feel pliable and soft and springy, and the process of fighting feels free and joyful rather than stiff and fearful. The movements become soft and fluid, and even when you receive a strike, it seems to go through the body rather than getting lodged inside of it. All of this was relatively unknown to mainstream America, but it was still just the tip of the iceberg to what I was to come to learn later. After about 20 years, my teacher let me in on deeper levels of training. Formulas used by military families who used mixtures of herbs that increase growth hormone and selective breeding to create giants. There are many stories in Chinese history of certain generals who were 7 foot tall, 300-pound monsters. These formulas still exist within our Kung Fu family. My teacher revealed to me that he had secret formulas designed to make people freakishly strong, and he had been using them on pit bulls. His son Anthony is a vet who raises award-winning pit bulls because they are some of the largest on Earth. Think of a pit bull, and then imagine a small person being able to ride it. He sells them to wealthy Japanese and Saudi princes. With the right breathing methods and a customized formula, you can get massive life advantages. It's important, however, that you use caution in using an herbal formula. Simply because an herb is famous doesn't mean that you should necessarily use it. In Chinese medicine school, I had a classmate from Korea. When we were studying herbs, she told me a cautionary tale about a certain herb that massively increases growth hormone. She was the youngest of 3 sisters. Her eldest sister was born tiny and frail. Her father heard that deer antler had androgens that could make her thrive. The father gave her this expensive herb every morning, and she grew quickly until she was bigger than the other girls in her school. Later, the second sister was also born weak and was given the same herb. Before long, they were shooting up. Soon after my classmate was born, they started to notice something strange. They began to notice that the oldest girls were a little different than their classmates. They were certainly smart and outgoing, but they were also bigger than the other girls, and hairier. In fact, even in their first years of high school, they were larger than most boys their age, and in fact most men. While most young girls their age were shy around boys, these two had taken girlfriends for themselves. The parents grew concerned about their family line, so they stopped giving the girls the deer antler velvet. My classmate to this day is pretty sturdy, but her sisters would have been at home on an American football field. They were big and pretty awesome. They would have us over for amazing Korean food and soju. It was special soju like Goldschlager with gold flakes in it, and they could put it away and eat voraciously. Imagine Genghis Khan, but in cool clothing and a pretty chilled out demeanor. If you want giant, awesome, manly daughters, it seems that deer horn may be the way to go. If not, then it's probably better to get a more customized formula. The Chinese Olympic team makes use of these herbs in different combinations. Every few years, the Chinese Olympic teams get accused of doping, and the Olympic Committee can't always detect it. This is because the substances they are using trigger their own gene expression of hormones, and then increase hormone catabolism so that the effects aren't lingering in the blood. The herbs are working, like many performance-enhancing drugs, but are working without side effects and in very elegant ways. Since the Qing dynasty, elite soldiers have used an herb called Hongjingtian to relieve fatigue. In the 1970s, Russian cosmonauts also used it, as well as Russian pilots and athletes. Hongjingtian is a type of Tibetan rhodiola. Because it's grown at high altitude, it has a much greater capacity for increasing hemoglobin within the body. It also increases growth hormones. Hongjingtian causes gene expression of 3 extraordinary proteins. PGC1 alpha increases energy metabolism. PPAR alpha helps to break down fat and is key for the process of ketosis, mainly found in the liver and in brown fat. And this helps us convert white fat into heat. MTTFA is key for mitochondrial genome replication. Red blood cells can become low with intense athletics. Hongjingtian increases gene expression of red blood cells. This allows fresh sources of oxygen-rich blood. It can also help with muscular contraction and muscular growth by increasing alpha-actin. It also increases growth hormone and testosterone. In animal studies, it's been shown to help memory, intelligence, and fat burning. In another form of administration, Hongjingtian is used in herbal foot soaks. This helps athletes improve circulation, relieve muscle tightness, soreness, and stiffness, and helps the body to get rid of lactic acid and urea. The herbs are also used for ankle injuries and improving tensegrity during athletics. This increase in tensegrity helps to reduce injuries and speed healing time. An herb that's sold all over the world is ginseng. Many people think they know about ginseng, it's supposed to increase energy. However, having too much of it can cause excess inflammation. It's also not the most bioavailable herb. It tends to come into your system and out of it relatively quickly. A formula that's used with ginseng is called shengmai. Shengmai san, or shengmai powder, is a combination of 3 herbs. One is ginseng, the other is called maidong, and the third is called wuweizi. Maidong and wuweizi help to temper the inflammatory effects of ginseng, while at the same time increasing the bioavailability by keeping the ginsenosides inside the bloodstream. Wuweizi has also been shown to help with night vision, and maidong can help with stomach acid balance. It's also a mild blood thinner. To test how much herbs increase endurance, they'll drop a bunch of rats in some water. Some of the rats will eat shengmai, and some of them won't have anything besides food. Then they let them all swim until they drown. The mice that have taken the herbs are able to swim much longer and stay alive for a longer period of time. So we can see that this goes much beyond placebo, as it's affecting the body on multiple levels that can be easily measured, and in the rather gruesome exercise test. One performance-enhancing drug is erythropoietin. This helps to increase red blood cells. The problem with this is that if you increase red blood cells too much, they can become sticky and it can increase your risk of having a stroke or heart attack. Chinese herbal formulas that increase erythropoietin, such as taohong suwu, suwu tang, or even just having honghua alone, not only increase this, but they also are mild blood thinners, so they're going to, in fact, decrease your risk of having stroke or heart attack. A second performance-enhancing drug is HGH, human growth hormone. This can help you to increase muscle mass. Many herbs, such as hongjingtian and lurong, increase this hormone while at the same time helping your liver to clean it out once it's done. When hormones linger in the blood, you can look forward to cancer. You want hormones to be produced, get to their areas, get to the cellular receptor site, and then be catabolized by the liver as soon as possible. Hormones are great messengers. They shouldn't be stored for long periods of time within the bloodstream. A drug to increase lung capacity is ephedrine. This is also used to make meth, and it's one of the key components in an herb called mahuang, herba ephedrine. This is the herb that ephedrine was synthesized from. Using mahuang to increase athletic performance is completely stupid. There are many herbs that increase lung capacity and can help the heart function better. However, taking ma huang or ephedrine in order to increase athletic performance is a good way to get a heart attack. It is not sound from a traditional standpoint nor from a modern standpoint. It's dangerous, and the same effects can be had at a much more comprehensive level simply by taking Hongjingtian. It's going to increase the human growth hormone, at the same time open up lung capacity. There's no reason to use the wrong substances when you know better. Now you do. Anti-inflammatory drugs are also used to inhibit prostaglandins. Most Chinese herbs used for pain are anti-inflammatory. Estrogen blockers are often used in an attempt to increase the testosterone levels. It's not the worst strategy. No, it is actually the worst strategy. The best strategy is to cause the body to increase its own DHEAs, create its own testosterone and estrogen. You definitely need both if you like things like bone density and the ability to not die of a flu. You definitely want both, but most importantly, after the hormones are made, you want them to have the capacity to get to the cellular receptor sites. Herbal compounds designed to increase this also increase the cellular receptor sites. So once the hormones are made, they get exactly to where they need to be and out of the bloodstream. And that's how you prevent or reduce the risk for estrogen-based cancers. The more you mess with hormones without considering liver catabolism, the more you're setting the stage for a very painful demise. On a brighter note, creatine is used to increase ATP. Not bad. It's made in the liver. However, you can also use herbs like huangqi that will increase ATP and also help give your immune system a huge boost. By using Radix astragalus, you can increase ATP, give your immune system a boost. At the same time, you'll be helping to make insulin receptor sites more available. This can help you to reduce your appetite and lower the amount of fat that you have on your body. I'd say for a 3-in-1, it's better to go with the huangqi. If you want to elevate your serum creatine, you might consider Hongjingtian, the same herb mentioned earlier. That has the ability to increase creatine within the body by reducing creatine kinase, which helps to break creatine down. By blocking that which reduces it, it helps you to maintain those levels within the blood. A very excellent herb, especially if you do any kind of a contact sport or martial art, is called gusuibu. Gusuibu increases osteogenesis, so it's going to help increase bone density. This herb is used in a lot of liniments and internal formulas during iron body training. It allows your fists to really hit like iron, instead of kind of feeling like a series of tubes that are connected with a joint as you hit a bag. You kind of get this feeling after you do a lot of bag work, where your fists can almost feel like they're out of energy. However, if you're using herbs that increase your peripheral circulation and herbs that increase bone density, your fist starts to feel like a ball and chain. And when you hit something, it feels more like it explodes. You just get this weight in the fists. That it's a part of muscular development. Doing finger push-ups and this kind of thing helps to shape your fist better. Having better blood flow and circulation means that your fists can actually be heavier, and especially having that bone density and strong connective tissue means that once you hit, you stop causing injury. Sometimes you can be limited as to how hard you can hit by your connective tissue and by how the force travels through the body. So gusuibu is very, very important if you're doing hard conditioning and you want to get high levels of bone density that are beyond that which your competition has. If you really want to feel nauseous for a while, you can look up on YouTube. There are videos of people doing Thai kicks into the shins of those with stronger bone density, and their legs can snap in half. It's really gross. I wouldn't recommend it if you've eaten recently or are squeamish, but it goes to show the importance of having good bone density. Using performance-enhancing herbs is one of the best things you can do for yourself in this lifetime. There are general herbs that are good to start with, like Hongjingtian or Shengmai. These are relatively safe and are already used over the counter by millions of people in East Asia. If you want something that's more powerful, it's very important that you have it customized for you. This is a very important process to take for your life. So get your labs done, go see a doctor, see an herbalist, a Chinese medicine doctor. You get the best team of specialists to decide what's going to be best for you before you get injured, before you get sick. And that's how you can maintain your optimum flow states, both mentally and physically. It's a long-term investment, but the returns on it will pay you back tenfold in terms of your work output, your mental focus, and your creativity. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself, but do it intelligently and safely. By leveraging nature's advantages, you can live an extraordinary life. If you would like more information, references, or resources, please check us out at botanicalbiohacking.com.